Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Extreme heat advisories are in effect in 17 states, impacting tens of millions of people in the U.S. Some 260 million people will see heat in the 90 degrees or above this week, from the U.S. Southwest to the Midwest to the East Coast. Excessive humidity in the Mid-Atlantic will make the heat more oppressive. Chicago Monday broke its heat record with a high of 97 degrees. Phoenix hit a record of 112 degrees Saturday. The U.S. last year saw the most heat waves since 1936. This as the world has seen 12 straight months of record-breaking heat, an indicator of climate change spurred by the burning of fossil fuels. Officials say firefighters have increased their containment of a large wildfire that's threatening critical infrastructure north of Los Angeles in the mountains. Hot, dry, windy weather forecast for today could pose challenges. The post-fire is now 20% contained. President Joe Biden is planning to announce a sweeping new policy that would lift the threat of deportation for immigrants married to U.S. citizens today. He'll make the announcement at an event to celebrate the Obama-era directive that offers deportation protections for young undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children, known as DACA. The new policy will allow roughly 490,000 spouses of U.S. citizens the chance to apply for a, quote, parole in place program that would shield them from deportation and offer work permits if they've lived in the country for at least 10 years. It comes after Biden's crackdown on immigration at the southern border earlier this month that enraged advocates and some Democratic lawmakers. It led to litigation challenging that new rule. It effectively stopped asylum claims at the U.S.-Mexico border. At least 25 Palestinians were killed in 3 Israeli strikes in Gaza today. 80 others injured, according to the Wafa news agency. Among the dead, at least 17 in strikes on the Nuseirat refugee camp, according to Al Jazeera. That's where Israeli forces killed 274 Palestinians a week ago in a rescue operation to free 4 Israeli hostages. Meanwhile, Israel's Supreme Court heard arguments today about a law that would grant far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir sweeping power over the police. As a national security minister, he's actively supported officers accused of using excessive force against Palestinians. Activists opposed to the war in Gaza have hung a large banner that says "Stop the Genocide" at Yosemite National Park's iconic El Capitan, a 3,000-foot granite wall to demand the U.S. stop sending arms to Israel. This comes as a Washington Post is reporting 2 key Democrats who held up major arms sales to Israel, including 50 F-15 fighter jets worth more than $18 billion, have signed off on the deal. Gregory Meeks of New York and Ben Cardin of Maryland. A senior advisor to President Joe Biden is meeting with top officials in Beirut in an effort to find a diplomatic solution to head off a larger war. The visit comes as Israel Sunday warned of escalating conflict with Lebanon's militant group Hezbollah. House Republicans have passed a national defense spending bill that defunds the U.S. military's built pier off the coast of Gaza and blocks funding to bring Palestinian refugees to the U.S. It also includes a host of culture war amendments by the right. It passed with a handful of Democratic votes. Edwin Vieira reports.
The House of Representatives passed the $900 billion National Defense Authorization Act, but it faces an uphill battle in the Senate. House Republicans included amendments blocking the Pentagon from reimbursing troops seeking abortions, blocking funds to cover gender-affirming care, and ending diversity measures. Other amendments call for defunding a U.S. military humanitarian aid pier off Gaza's coast. I'm Edwin J. Vieira for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
Maryland's Democratic Governor Wes Moore has pardoned some 175,000 marijuana convictions in the state, calling it a racial justice issue. Audie McAfee reports.
Governor Moore said the pardons are meant to reverse the harmful impacts of the past war on drugs.
We're talking about tools that have led to the mass incarceration of black men and boys, that have led to an 8-to-1 racial wealth gap in our state. Because we know we do not get to an 8-to-1 racial wealth gap because one group is working 8 times harder.
The pardons do not release anyone currently incarcerated on marijuana charges and does not expunge past drug convictions from a criminal record. Moore and supporters of the pardon say they will, however, help lift barriers for housing, employment, and/or educational opportunities. Anthony Brown is Maryland's Attorney General. He says 71% of Maryland's prison population is black, but only 31% of Maryland residents are black. He said these pardons will help reduce that number.
Your action today is about equity. It's about racial justice.
The governor's office said it should take about 2 weeks for the state to update its conviction records with the new pardons. Maryland voters approved a constitutional amendment in 2022 legalizing the use of recreational marijuana. In all, 24 states and the District of Columbia have legalized recreational cannabis. I'm Audie McAfee.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked a new Title IX rule that would have expanded LGBTQ protections in 6 states. District Judge Danny Reeves said the rule includes a new definition of sexual harassment, which may require educators to use pronouns consistent with a student's purported gender identity rather than their biological sex. He wrote, educators likely would be required to use students' preferred pronouns regardless of whether doing so conflicts with the educator's religious or moral beliefs. He blocked the rule from going in effect in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia. Last week, a separate federal judge blocked the new rule in Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, and Idaho. I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.